Peace be upon you, Gemini. Let's look at the month of June for you. Possible challenges, opportunities, trials, current stage, desires, possible warnings, so overall shadow work and how to expand, and further advice if granted to us. Let's look. Seven of Pentacles. I need to evaluate. Yes, you are called to reevaluate something or properly assess. So obviously you're deciding on whether it's worth continuing or repeating a specific patterns. Are you going to go with what worked for you in the past now that you're asked to redefine it or reevaluate it? Because you're definitely, there's some level of dissatisfaction or just a need to kind of assess your current trajectory at this stage. Are you going to continue on this path? The 7-7, there's another 7. It's a 7 of Cups in reverse. You may feel constrained to go on continue on this trajectory, even though you're definitely dissatisfied. You don't see the purpose of it. You don't grasp the actual underlying reason or purpose behind what it is that you're doing. So you may kind of also almost like automatically or by just habit. And it's kind of the death of the soul here that you're experiencing, as in what gives? Why am I not fulfilled? I don't feel this is for me, but at the same time, you're kind of neutral towards it. So again, you may be acting out of habit or preconditioning, or it just works, right? What else should I do? Because you seem to feel like you're out of options, or you're confused about what could actually fulfill you and what you actually want. Yes, yes, yes. 10 of Cups. You've either released a dream or you become a bit too pragmatic, too anchored in the practical, the rational, and you've released the ability, or your ability to dream, to explore, to express yourself. You may feel that there is no actual fulfillment for me or happiness, and this is the best I get. And it's a very, very cold, very pragmatic, very disheartening almost, and there's no actual joy here. And if you're not careful, the soul wants its share, right? It may translate into frustration and anger, and yeah, the moon, yeah, frustration, anger, inner struggle, a subconscious level, needing to hide or feeling this need to constantly repress your feelings, your anger, your emotions, your repressed emotional aspect of you. But again, the soul wants what the soul wants. There's been no transformation here. I believe you're just beginning the process of shadow work. But for you at this stage, it actually translates in the courage, despite of possible consequences and the changes that you dread. You got comfortable. Comfort kills the passions of the soul. This is what we're witnessing here. A 7 and a 10 of Cups. This is about love, partnership, feeling acknowledged, seen, understood. You need a connection that's pure, that's authentic, that's intense and genuine. And even if it's just a platonic kind of a connection, I will go with the advice of starting to explore that aspect, depending on what actually moves your heart and fills your heart with joy. For some it's animals, for others it's sports, for others it's connection with nature, for others it's a long lost friend that for some reason was either socially incompatible or whatever. You parted ways, or maybe, pick the phone and call that person up. If it really filled your heart and you felt seen, and maybe at one point you decided you weren't going to explore life at that level because you may have felt vulnerable, or whatever sense of security or life that you've built for yourself you may have felt as if it was threatened by anything that's non-conventional or new, or brings, or it throws all of this superficial kind of artificial kind of a harmony that you've created for yourself that's merely on the surface, and it's rather more practical. So just because the results are there and it's tangible, it doesn't mean that it actually is able to fulfill you. It's like having food but not being hungry for the food that's in front of you. not having what your soul needs, basically. So I guess you've explored prosperity, right? But in such a cold, again, superficial kind of a manner. Whereas now that you have it, the other lack, because it doesn't always translate in the same manner. Those who achieve power, for example, will have to revert back to, okay, but who loves me? And it's going to be even harder from that stage to determine, right? They're going to have to resort to tests and painful, strategies to determine, or lies or deceit or hiding who they are or how much they own and so on, in order to determine on whether somebody cares for them. That's why we have the prince and beggar kind of a tale. And I believe that's kind of where you are currently at. And you may be actually entertaining that possibility. So you may be traveling as some form of a, simple, yep, the prince and beggar kind of. It's what I see here. You're going to hide who you are, or how much you own, or, in an attempt to explore. Whether you see it even more rationally as in some form of a social experiment, you're trying to prove a point or discover, but it still has to do with you, on whether someone would care for you if you had nothing. Or is it always based on how much you own, how people evaluate or connect with you? So I believe you're questioning the relationship. You're not even questioning, you're quite aware of the fact that you're starting to realize that if you weren't who you were socially, or you didn't provide or constantly invest or raise up to people's expectations, or constantly reward them for attention or to be in your life, it almost feels like you have to, pay for people to care or love you. Or so you may secretly plan to connect, whether online or at the distance, or travel somewhere, whereas you are nothing, or no one, right? You're stepping out of status and all of that. You need that, you need to escape. Let's see, bottom of the deck, what is it? The Hierophant in reverse. Yes, you're escaping either responsibility, or you're doing something definitely non-conventional. Nobody knows about it. You need to explore something, and no one is going to know about it. You're starting to dabble your feet in the waters of authentic connections and at a human level, and you're exploring something here. Absolutely. You need to know whether, certain concepts or principles or philosophies or ideas are even feasible. Do they exist? Do people connect if there's beyond, race, tradition, culture, country, color of their skin? And you want to know if hearts can connect. 10 of Cups. Because you feel you've kind of lost hope, or never even truly got the opportunity within your life and journey up until now to discover that. So you may take it to the extreme, whereas you're doing something in secret or in secrecy or in a very private manner in order to discover or prove something. The Hierophant is about ideals, faith, etc., traditions. You're not sure, you're questioning something that maybe up until now you never really did. You went along with rather the rational and the practical, the functional, what works. But now you're discovering that, wait a minute, maybe it's not that crazy to think that there's some form of a higher power, or that, yes, ultimately has to be channeled somehow. It works. There are laws, natural laws, and so on. So you may have dabbled also in spirituality, but it translates on a very personal level. You're going to seek to find the most unconventional, original people that are not restrained by, again, dogma, etc. You're out there exploring. Yep. You want to understand why, as in, you're trying to align the above and the below. Yep. So there's this disconnect that you constantly perceive, as in you don't find where the middle ground is, and how do the universal laws, things that you may entertain their existence and they may even, make sense, You definitely are someone who did explore the ideas, but never really is in the metaphysical. I guess we get back to that. There's this disconnect now for you in between, I guess, the science oriented kind of a mind or approach or existence versus spirituality, right? Where do the two align? Where do they clash? And so on. So you're kind of stuck in a dichotomy, whereas you absolutely want to discover whether there is such a thing as God, where there's such a thing as true love or humanity, or and you're putting yourself up to the test or to the challenge of discovering that, because the material no longer suffices for you. Temperance in reverse. Again, this energy of needing to find the alignment. Divine law versus, earthly, worldly law of order of things. You're challenging it because you're forced to. Because looking at it, okay, we understand how things work, but what does it all stem from and what's the reason for it? So again, justice should be, that channel in between the upper and the lower. And I guess the cross represents the connection in between humans, right? So hence where you have polarity and the vessel, right? The channel, and you need to meet somewhere in the middle. It's a powerful, incredible pursuit here with the temperance in reverse. Because again, you feel as if whatever you think you've built here, it's a tower energy. Yes, you're starting shadow work in your own manner, obviously. You are willing to challenge everything you thought you knew yourself. You're stepping outside of your comfort zone. It's amazing. This means connection with people from different cultures and so on. You're willing to be uncomfortable. You're willing to step outside of norms, or you're no longer trying to control how others perceive you, but rather you're in a very receptive state, whereas you're curious to see things through other people's eyes, people that are exploring life from a rather more less strategic, calculated, right? They're more authentic, there's more presence, there's some level of, I guess, craziness, if you want, right? Again, very non-conventional. The more non-conventional the people you're going to meet, the more curious and interested you're going to be in that. You're trying through them kind of to explore those extremes, and in order to find your own truth, your own inner balance, etc. In other words, you need more from life. Even though you were successful, now you're called to explore something else. The tower energy is quite dramatic. Sometimes it may imply some level of trauma or a shift in your actual physical reality. There leaves no space for ifs or buts, or even for you to attempt to try and prevent something from happening or from crumbling, from coming down. So again, this is something that you've built. It may have to do with your worldview that now needs to be reconsidered, revisited. It stems back from whatever is left, whatever foundations you have, right? You may have taken, again, an approach that's overly materialistic and so on, at the cost of your own soul, calling you back to, revisit certain concepts or principles. There's pragmatism, there's coldness. I guess there's shadow work is triggered by your realization that, yes, you can achieve a lot with willpower, but there's a different kind of an order to things, and you would try and explore that, because manifesting things out of your own mere choice and, again, effort and seems to be so redundant. It makes life appear, for the very least, boring, purposeless, cold, and senseless. You need the intensity, yes, with all the risks that it may imply, getting hurt, etc., of that a connection, whereas you feel you can be whatever you choose to be. That level of freedom, that level of, you've never really experienced it, because financial success comes at a cost that you're no longer willing to pay, especially now in front of this realization that no matter what you build, it takes an instance for it to come crumbling down. You're not going to take it with you, or not, etc. So now it becomes more about the journey for you. and a journey, not even in the whole, in the actual, sense of it per se, but and it's not about instant gratification either. You need something that's intense, that's authentic, that feels genuine, that feels that is able to transcend all of the laws and rules. And so you're breaking out of patterns, but rather you feel as if you've been freed or released from it. The big burden of carrying the success of your financial or practical worldly realizations, you feel you've been freed from it. That's your perspective. It is a bit disastrous, but at the same time, because that's why, as I said, you feel called to reevaluate what's left, fruit of your labor and so on, and you're really disheartened by it. This is it. This is what we get. So you're not too bothered about whatever you think you've lost here. And I feel it has to do rather more with your future, not with you. You don't really lose, but something may have happened, whereas it shatters whatever you determined or felt there was going to be forever. It can only grow from here, right? So you already started either your own business or you had a career. At one point, something revealed it to be kind of, for the very least, it came at a halt. And it appeared as very dissatisfying, empty, void, or null to you. It doesn't matter as much as you felt or thought it did at one point, or anybody else keeps saying that it is, right? Whether it's status, a position, a role that you occupy, or whatever. You say, this is not enough, because we build towers towards the heavens and they keep being brought down, right? So the moon is about going in the depths. You go down in order to go up. And rather rising from the subconscious, the hidden, the veiled, right? Not the obvious, not the tangible, but rather the emotional, the spiritual, and so on. This is representing the crown. So the crown has fallen. So either you feel that you're not worthy of the role, or there's no purpose in the crown that you're wearing. You no longer feel a connection with the purpose that you thought you had up until now, or that everything has. And there's a changing of roles. But again, back to king and the king and beggar energy, whereas you feel prince and beggar, sorry. Whereas you're dropping your own crown. It's fine. I lose the role, I lose the title, I lose the respect. It's almost like it's a fall from grace in some sense. Or there's been much like the Tower of Babel, there's been a growth, yes, an expansion and an achievement, but it has no heart or soul or actual purpose in it. As a matter of fact, it kind of defies the actual manner, goes against the natural order on things when it comes to us building something. So again, it lacks the soul, the motivation may have been misplaced interests and so on. Again, it seems to have no soul or actual purpose in it, right? So back to foundations, dropping anything else that you may have been defined by, or whether by yourself or anyone else, loss or of status or respect or self-respect or sense of purpose, and therefore embracing a bit of a chaos here, whereas it's a realm of exploration, much like the moon in the waters. Shadow work, most definitely. You see this as some form of justice from above. Even though it may have impacted you, it's almost as if a prayer was answered, but it's a prayer of your very spirit. Whereas even if you wanted to go on, you lost again the will to do so. You were just carrying along like an NPC, like just going round and round and doing same old, and you felt as if you were dying on the inside. And for you saw this as a blessing. Finally, okay, it's over. At least I didn't do it. It just happened, right? It's a disaster, but this is my opportunity. You see this as an opportunity to start back, building with different bricks, with different principles, intentions, with different desires, and with more soul and purpose. And it may have to do also with the people that you felt you were doing this for, or the reasons on why you would have built whatever it is that you built, whether it's a family, a business, a career, and so on. What was the point all along? It's not satisfactory. It can go in a moment, and what's left? That unfulfilled emotionally depleted and empty and self. So again, acknowledgement of divine law or natural law, etc., fatality, etc., etc. So it kind of humbles you to a point where there must be a different other force other than myself. I built this, but in a split of a second it came crumbling down. So at this point it's inevitable for you to kind of acknowledge providence as well, fate or destiny, or to some extent a higher, rather bigger scheme of things, an intelligent design in some sense, rather than being triggered and taking this too personally, even though you know that it is. You're trying to find whether there's, from this point onward, another way for you to exist, another way to explore reality, some other form of or other level of existence, a different frequency, a different kind of a social dynamics and so on, beyond all the things that up until now may have felt that it brings certainty and some form or shape or meaning to reality. You're now seeing it as rather more restrictive, right? All the things that you've built your tower on were very limiting. You know, you can build a tower for two reasons: to keep people out or to keep people in. You were stuck in it. So that's why you feel liberated. In other words, I'm sorry, Gemini, you feel lonely. You need human connection. It's very uncomfortable for you. You may be introverted because tower, shy, a bit distrustful of people, but based merely on your observance of yourself, for example. You know that we're all prone to making choices that may hurt others, and so it can be vice versa. Yes, it was a lot easier to go with strategy and logic, and because it works, right? It makes you feel safe. You can predict things, you can plan things out and lead them to fulfillment. And yeah, but there's another way to live. I just pray you don't go too much to the other extreme or put yourself in dangerous situations, because yes, there's truth to what motivated you. And that is that, yes, as humans, we are the only ones that can actually, hurt one another within the same species, and sometimes without even actually knowing why. We can go to those extremes, whereas we can elevate one another or try and destroy one another. And that potential is still there. The same way it is within you, it's within others. So I do pray, because the tendency will be to go to the other extreme now, almost as if that energy, I got nothing to lose now. And it can cut both ways. It can be extremely empowering, because it allows you to, again, step outside of those boxes and push boundaries and explore. And but at the same time, yeah, if you go too far, you may miss or not be able to see possible dangers or excesses, or right. So you're going to explore in the depths here. The Two of Swords, yes, a need to be assertive. Maintain your rationale, still Libra energy again, just as you may be dealing with the Libra. Or overall, again, you're trying to find that inner harmony and balance, whereas you're trying to align because you can grasp into the divine mind and the intention behind creation, but you have always approached it on a rather practical sense. Now you're going into the metaphysical, right? Which is can be extremely scary, especially if you're if you're not gonna be connecting with the right people, or we can be vulnerable at this stage because we don't really see much. We're learning to see in the dark, so to speak. So exploration, and I'm not saying don't be authentically yourself, but whenever you do recognize any form of deception, or I pray you'll be quick to cut that out and continue on your journey, right? To find kindred spirits, etc. The Four of Wands, again, foundations will still be there. This time around, it has to be about, so there's a new spark in the heart, as we call it. You move on to the next level of desires. You have strong foundations. You know, to some extent, what moved you up until now. You can build on that, but in a different manner, a different kind of a thing, that rather than being a tower or being aimed at just actual personal fulfillment, it can be aimed at creating a safe space or a shelter or a community or an institution that would benefit others. This implies union, communion, unity, covenants, marriages, partnerships, etc. Equal give and take, harmony. We had temperance over there as well. So you can either be moving, ultimately make an important decision with the tower there to actually move to a different country, a different nation, a different location, etc. And it is the right thing to do. The Nine of Cups in reverse, because of lack of actual personal fulfillment. It's time. It's time for you to move. There may be legalities, conflicts, again, people trying to prevent you from doing so. You yourself are starting to, you know, say, I'm done. I'm no longer doing this anymore. There's some possible conflict or challenges. The Ten of Swords in reverse. Other people may not be as quick to allow you to kind of do this. You do still have some responsibility towards the people in your life. Seven of Swords. And you may choose to do it, again, in hiding or in secrecy. You're planning on this. You're going to strategize to actually move, exploring slowly and finding your next place where you're going to actually live and start a new chapter altogether. Again, your foundation seems to be very clear. So you'll have both the finances but you are going to do this on your own. Is it the right thing to do? Yes. There may be involvement here, separation, official separation, division of assets, etc., legalities, closing out loans, etc., and officially moving. There's maybe a lot of bureaucracy or, again, legal implications such as divorce if you're in a higher level of commitment. And of course, someone will not accept this ending that easily. I believe you already know it because, again, you've been always able to be one step in front of anyone else because you've taken the easy way, in the sense of you used your intellect to be able to detect patterns, habits, etc. And it served you well up until this point, right? Because you worked with, rather than variables, you worked with constants. You could anticipate human behavior and so on. Queen of Swords. And now you want to explore the unseen, whereas Queen of Swords in reverse, this is the counterpart, or rather, someone who will not be that willing to let you go off the hook that easily. Someone feels either betrayed, deceived, and they can be very cruel. So expect someone to come after you either legally or demand something or impose or try to impose something, false accusations, etc., etc., etc. Someone who can be extremely cruel. Then again, it's because someone feels absolutely either betrayed or feels they're in the right. King of Pentacles, yeah. Because you're gonna literally just come out of someone's life. This doesn't come cheap, right? It doesn't come cheap because it affects someone else's reality here. You're just checking out. And that's why I believe you're strategizing to do it like a smooth operator. Literally. You know the song? Smooth Operator, yep. Ten of Pentacles, yep, you're coming out of a marriage, abandoning a home, or you're done. Justice means divorce will happen smoothly, even though you will be willing to give up on something, such as, you know, giving them whatever, alimony, whatever you need to give. I don't see children in the connection for some reason. In order for you to just get away with something. And you may actually finalize things when you're already, you know, at a distance. At this point, as we speak, I think you're living somewhere else. Hierophant is about marriage and commitment as well. You're breaking a vow or covenant, or because, again, you feel you're emotionally dying. There's no love here. What you've achieved in the practical, whatever stability, or it's just life. Every day, single day, life-wise, it's not how you want to live anymore. You can't anymore. There are passions that are there, they're burning, you want to explore, you have aspects of you that need to come to the surface, and you're starting to explore that. Does that come cheap? No, because something needs to crumble in order for that to happen. Okay. Cancer energy, sometimes I see Pisces, but it's also good fortune with the scarab. It's destiny, it's purpose. Have a blessed month ahead. I pray that you find the best way to manage and navigate this. You have the freedom to check out and start fresh. Of course, the manner in which you do it must also somehow seek to consider anyone else who may have been on this journey with you all along, because someone will be extremely hurt by this, heartbroken to a point of nearly losing her mind over there. This is a masculine Gemini, King of Pentacles in reverse, and you will be stingy. You will try and, you know, just communicate that you basically don't care, you don't feel connection anymore. But ultimately, yeah, legal wise, you'll find the right balance. Karmically wise, energy wise, if, hey, whatever you need to do, do it. But again, try in time, further down the line, to kind of honor the stage that you have traversed that led you to the next one. Whereas you do show gratitude for your counterpart, for helping you, you know, become who you are and being there on that journey with you. So I hope you find some care at a human level towards the people that were already in your life, right? Up until this stage. Because again, there's a feminine, it's a widow energy that feels absolutely backstabbed, hurt, to a point where it doesn't even make sense, as in it's shocking, it's traumatic. So hence the tower may not affect you because it's something that you actually want. You've reached the stage, you have all the right to check out, as I was saying. But what about her? You know, it's not about the money. I think for her it's about that sense of justice, right? So I pray you manage. Friends, it's going to be hard, but yeah, navigate in such a manner where you yourself are not cruel. Because I have to be honest, this appears to be extremely cruel for someone else. Then again, I'm not saying be conditioned by that, because you cannot be somewhere where if your heart's not in it. The issue is, I think you've dragged this way too far. Someone had their own security in regards to this connection. They were fine with things as they were. So their reality is literally crumbling. So that tower is actually impacting someone else terribly. And at least acknowledge what they're going through and find some way to be either tactful, patient, understanding. Yes, you will receive accusations, etc. At least show tolerance and understanding where they're coming from, right? Because it's a shattered reality and that they didn't ask for. But then again, this is how life works. It's not your fault. Things happen that way. And it's, again, the alternative is always worse. What you could be blamed of is, why didn't you do this sooner? Why, you know, have you been not courageous enough, since your heart seems to never have been in it all along, you know, to just not build a tower with someone that you obviously did not love. So, many blessings. Shalom.